Hello, hello. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. My name is Aldwyn from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California, San Diego County, California.
And hi, I'm Helen Micallef from Melbourne, Australia.
And we'll be right back after this short introduction with our very hot topic today, which is all about the truth about the positive side of cancer.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show, hosted by myself, Ken Kleinberg from San Diego County, California.
And I'm Aldwyn, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And our goal here on this show is to help you to break away from the mainstream media propaganda and lies, the disinformation and misinformation that's out there in the mainstream, and really help you to start questioning everything and start doing the research for yourself. We want to punch through all of that disinformation and misinformation. Our goal here is to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass and then pave the way for a new awakened civilization. And we would love for you to come along for the ride. Don't take our word for it. The things that we share here on the show, that goes for our guests too. Start doing the research for yourself. Start going and asking the questions for yourself. Get out there and really find the real truth behind things. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome. A little bit about our special guest today, Helen. She lives in Melbourne, Australia. She survived all that COVID mayhem in Melbourne, and she is here with us. She's a software developer who has created an uncomplicated CRM system that has helped hundreds of business owners pull together their entire client database and utilize it in a more productive manner to keep in contact with their current, past, and future clients. Helen speaks to business groups every week on topics like customer care, future sales, business growth, lead generation, and utilizing every incoming inquiry and marketing. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks, Ken, for inviting me too.
Oh, you're welcome. Great
to have you here. And of course, my amazing co-host from San Diego. How are you feeling today, Ken?
Absolutely amazing.
Brilliant. Now, we're talking about cancer today, the truth about the positive side of cancer. Now, I love this because I always say every negative can be turned into a positive. And so, Helen, can you share a bit of your story, a bit of your background of when you found out you had cancer, what sort of cancer it was, etc.?
So it was in 2010, and I was changing down one evening and I happened to find a lump in one of my breasts, and I thought, oh, well, it could be just hormonal. Didn't do much about it. I woke up the next morning, but something was telling me, nah, just go and get it checked out, and I did. So, of course, I went through all the process and obviously it came back that it was a suspicious lump, and off I went, and I had to have surgery at that time and had a lumpectomy and a few lymph nodes taken out. And then that was so it was diagnosed with triple negative and stage 3 breast cancer, and then obviously went through the process of them suggesting treatment of chemo radiation, which I refused, and there is a story behind all of that. And off I went and basically lived for 10 years cancer-free, and right in the middle of lockdowns, 2020 here in Melbourne, lo and behold, it reared its ugly head yet again on the right side this time. And I suppose the anomaly of it, what happened at that time was that the doctors couldn't find where it started, the primary. They couldn't say definitively it was from the left breast, and they couldn't find anything in the right breast because it happened in the right underarm. And so they said, well, we can only say it's the same because it had the same characteristics of the original cancer. And but to this day, they still don't know where it came from and why, and especially after 10 years being cancer-free, they couldn't quite work it out. And yet again, they suggested what they suggested, and I again refused. But the difference between, it's funny, the difference between 10 years was the openness of the doctors this time round. The surgeon was really lovely. He turned around and he said, Helen, you know, you don't have to do what we tell you to do. And I think you know that. And he said to me, and, you know, if you decide to do what you did 10 years ago, that would be valid, because look at the success that you actually had. And I nearly fell off my chair at that point in time, because in the 10 years that I had been going to doctors and oncology and everything else, I was never actually acknowledged for what I actually had achieved. Whereas this time round, they're actually saying something about it. You know, hey, you didn't do it. You didn't do what we told you to do, but you survived it. Yes, it came again, but they can't guarantee that even with chemo and radiation that you aren't going to get cancer again. So, you know, there was success. And anyway, it just totally blew me away how and I like he was a really lovely surgeon, and yeah, and that's really my history of cancer in a nutshell. Yeah.
Well, I remember Don Tolman, health guru. If you haven't checked out Don Tolman, or Tyler Tolman, his son, Don Tolman said once at one of his seminars, which he talks about whole food eating and how good that is for the body. He said that more people die from the treatment of cancer than the cancer itself, which of course is the chemotherapy. And I often have seen many people that have undergone chemo and then within a few months they're dead. And I mean, not to say that they may not have died anyway with chemo. However, it's a very abrasive treatment that kills all the good and the bad out of the body, and you're really depleting your body, from what I understand, of a lot of good stuff. So I think it's very important to do your due diligence when it comes to any kind of health condition, and particularly cancer. I remember seeing a documentary called Cancer, the Forbidden Cures, and there's at least 14 different cures for cancer that came out, and they were all shut down by pharmaceutical companies. And this is, and you think, well, if there's nothing to hide, once again, why the censorship, right? There's nothing to hide, why the censorship? And certainly if I had cancer, I would be looking at every single possible way to treat that cancer. And I know someone right now who's got cancer, and she's actually gone to Mexico to get some treatment there that's meant to be very good. It's a very expensive treatment. However, she did a little bit of chemo, and now she's going the other natural way to Mexico to get the treatments. And so what sort of other treatments did you look at, and how was that whole process for you?
Well, obviously when you're diagnosed with cancer, you hear that word cancer and you basically hear death. That was me. As soon as they said, yes, it's confirmed, after I had my surgery, and then they did a proper biopsy and they turn around and say that, and it's scary. It's not a nice thing to have to even live with. I was actually with my oncologist just recently, and I said to him, I said, it's awful to have to live with knowing that it could show up again, especially now that I've had a second time. And he goes, Helen, that's one thing I can't take away from you, unfortunately. He said, I wish I could, but he can't. And it's true, because it's just there. So when after they confirmed that it was, the next thing was, then you go through the whole process of, then they have to have tests, and like massive amounts of blood tests, scans, everything, CT scans, you name it. And then like the hospitals and the whole system has got a process you have to go through. And I remember I went and saw an oncologist, and I remember the moment he turned around and he was telling me about the chemo and what it was going to do and everything else. And I kept asking, one of the things that we asked was, well, what's the success rate? And they couldn't give me an answer, right? Oh. Nothing, right? And when he turned around and he said, Helen, it's a no-brainer, I just went, I can't believe you even said that. I was shocked. I said, it's a no-brainer. A no-brainer to bombard my body with chemicals? Are you kidding me? and I came out and I was so angry. Actually, I was pissed off. I was so angry. I walked out and I said to Brian, can you believe he said that? And he said, yeah, I just can't believe it. Anyway, whenever I went and saw them, I just said to them, look, let me think about it. They were expecting me to sign on the dotted line there and then. I just said, no, just let me think about it. And I didn't go back to the hospital. And I kept getting calls from the hospital saying, oh, you haven't seen the radiation therapist or whatever his name is, whatever they call him. And I said, oh, I don't really want to see him. I said, oh, well, we really need to get you through this so that they can sign off that they gave me all the information they needed to. So I went, all right. I went in and I saw him. Same thing. I just said, look, just leave it with me. I'll think about it. I pretty much had made up my decision. I didn't want to go down that road. And it wasn't the decision that I made. And can I just preempt this all? What I decided to do for myself is what I decided. And I'm not saying it's right and I'm not saying it's wrong. And I'm just saying, and I'm putting in a sort of a bit of a disclaimer here because it is a very sensitive subject. And that I've had people, when I've sort of posted something or said something and they've had a go at me and I go, it's my decision. It was right for me. I'm not saying that just because you go down the road of chemo or anything else that you're wrong. It's not, I'm not saying that. It's just that this was what I chose to do. Anyway, now that I've said that, I feel comfortable.
This is not health advice here today. This is not health advice. Do your own research.
No, and that's what I always say to people. I actually say to people, do your own homework. Don't accept just what they're saying. Ask questions. Look it up. Really get in and ask the questions. Anyway, I remember in those early days, I was having difficulty sleeping, so I'd wake up in the morning and I'd had the surgery and it was a bit uncomfortable and it was just a really awful time. And I would wake up, and this one morning I woke up and I was, I hadn't slept very much and my husband was getting ready to go to work and I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. I was bawling my eyes out and I kept saying, I don't want to have chemo, but I can't find anything that will help me. And you know what was going on? And this is how bad it is out there. You go in and you start researching cancer cures, natural cancer cures or alternative cancer cures. And this is what was happening. You find something and you're going down and you're looking at it and you go, oh my God, this is amazing. Bang, it cuts off. And guess where it takes you back to? The Cancer Council. Research, same thing. Find something, go down, go, oh my God, wow, that's amazing. Bang, at a certain point, bang, you can't go any further. And it was doing my head in. I was just going, how come these treatments are all out there and I can't get to them? I couldn't get to them, right? So this one, like I said, this one morning I was an absolute mess and he goes off to work and I'm just sort of like beside myself. I don't know which way to go, what decisions to make or anything. And it just did not feel right. I'm very intuitive to myself and I just did not like the idea of putting chemicals and stuff in my body. And look, if there was no other way of going about it, I would have gone, yeah, sure, no problems. But I felt like there was. And of course, the treatment in Mexico, yeah, but I didn't have those funds to sort of go there. I know a few of my friends did, and I would have loved to have gone, but I had to try and work things out. Anyway, Brian got to work that day and he was telling a friend there that what was going on, and she'd gone through cancer as well, breast cancer. And she contacted me and she said, Helen, if you're trying to find answers on the internet, you're not going to find them. And I went, oh, okay. And she said, but you got to read some books. So she suggested, and I've shown this to Ken, she suggested reading this one. Hang on, where is it? There we go.
World Without Cancer.
Hang on, can you see that? Hang on.
Right there.
Hang on.
Vitamin B12, is it?
B17.
Oh, B17. There you go. That's my eyesight.
which are apricot kernel seeds, right? And so in this book, there's two sections to this book. The first section is the actual research that was done on B17. And the second part of it was the industry of cancer. So I read it, and there are two particular chapters. I keep forgetting whether it's 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, but it actually explains in it the what actually the body is doing when it creates cancer. And there was actually, oh, that's right, here it is. I should have found it. There's a particular part in this book, and it said that cancer, now I'm not paraphrasing here, but it said something along the lines of, cancer is not a disease you contract from people. It's something that you create yourself. And I went, what? It was like, so it's almost like environmental, what you're putting into your body, all this sort of thing is creating it. Anyway, go on into the book. There's this 2 chapters that explains how cancer forms itself and what happens in your body and everything else like that. I finished reading those 2 chapters and I went, hang on a sec, did I get that right? Because it seemed too simple, right? So I went back and I read those 2 chapters again. This time I read them with dictionaries, everything. I did a lot of research on what it was actually saying and came out at the other end with the same concept. Anyway, fortunately, I've got an amazing naturopath. I went and saw her not long afterwards. And I said, listen, have I got this right with cancer and what's causing it? And I explained, and I said, so my understanding from what I've read in this book was that it's basically your immune system has been weakened so much that it's not fighting the cancer cells, and the cancer cells have got a way of actually protecting itself with some sort of a mechanism of actually preventing your antibodies from attacking it. And she goes, yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it is. We've just got to get your immune system up so high that it will prevent it from happening again. So for 10 years, I did that. Obviously, there was some things going on during COVID and lockdowns that put a lot of stress on my body. And so therefore my immune system got dropped. So anyway, so that's what I learned from that book. But the book is amazing, and the research that's in it is incredible. You'd have to read it yourself. I'm not going to go into it. But the second part of the book, which is the industry of cancer, oh my God, that was like an eye opener. That was where I really went, are you kidding me? They are suppressing every possible cancer cure because they make more money out of what they produce themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Chemotherapy is massive business, right?
I think I heard a figure of like each person that gets chemo is like 40,000. Is it? And I may be wrong, but $40,000 per person per treatment, maybe. Wow. Something like that, or even if it's for the whole treatment, I don't know. It's big. And I went, and so after I read that book, this book basically gave me the courage to say no, because I knew that there were alternatives out there, and I just had to find my way around the maze of things. And look, it's a costly exercise to do it yourself as well. Like, it's not covered by healthcare. Everything I've done, I've had to pay for myself. At one point, I was spending probably anything up to $1,000 a month on just vitamins, right? Wow. And that had to come out of our pocket, and everything else that I was doing at the time, because it was all about alternative treatments and doing it that way. And it works. It does actually work. And look, people say to me, geez, that's a very courageous decision to actually make. It is, because, the only alternative you've got there is chemo and radiation and everything else that they're going to suggest to you. And to go against the norm, it is a big step. And it was scary, because, but, the other thing too, then researching my particular type of cancer, again, the thing that actually came up was, what was the, I put in triple negative stage 3 breast cancer, success rate through radiation, and And with chemotherapy, the thing that actually came up was, I think it was about like a 10% success rate. And I went, so they're asking me to put chemicals in my body to give myself a 10% success rate of surviving. No, thank you. No, I think I'll just go my way and do it my way. And so I did.
Oh, you look perfectly healthy to me. So how do you feel now?
Look, I feel fine. And look, the only problem with what happened in 2020, look, there was a lot of crap going on here in Melbourne. Like we went into massive lockdowns, 6 lockdowns in total. I couldn't see my mum. She was in a nursing home. And because I wasn't going to get V'd, right, I'm not allowed to go in and see her. I had to sit out in the cold with her, or not even be able to see her at all. Or, we just lost our dad in 2019. Mum went into a nursing home and she was having a hard time just being there, and then we're locked out of seeing her. It was an awful time. And I really believe that was probably the impetus of it, of what made it happen, because I was just so angry and frustrated with the system and how, like, people were falling for a disease that is only affecting 0.0000009% of the population here in Australia, and we're being locked down. And it just sort of went, it was so frustrating. And the only thing I was really peeved off with my body in a way, because I look at it and I go, I did 10 years. And I said to my oncologist, I said, I wasn't expecting this on my 10-year anniversary. I was walking in with the idea that I made it to 10 years. I don't have to see him anymore, might see him every 5 years. And I'm back seeing him every few months now. So maybe I shouldn't have thought that.
Well, I think it's amazing that you've actually questioned the status quo. You've questioned the advice. From a young age, we're taught to respect authorities, figures. To
obey.
Obey and believe the government, and believe that they have our best interests at heart, and the doctors, etc. And the doctors get a lot of kickbacks from different pharmaceutical companies and all sorts of fringe benefits that can happen when they push certain things. And we know through COVID, I've heard many, many stories of nursing homes trying to push on people that deaths have happened because of COVID when they weren't because of COVID. And why this big push to make this such a big scaremongering tactic. And the thing is, with dis-ease in the body, disease dis-ease, usually there's some kind of emotional thing at the heart of it. And anger around the lockdowns and frustration would definitely have had some play in all of that as to why that came back up again. And often our bodies are there to tell us things, right? They're there to teach us and to look at what are some of the causes for this. I love Louise Hay's work. Louise Hay, I would be looking up what does Louise Hay say about cancer and affirmations around that, and look at the emotional side of what Louise Hay says in Heal Your Life. I think there's some absolutely brilliant stuff in there that you can do. What are your thoughts around this, Ken?
One thing I wanted to ask Helen, as you were talking about the research that you were doing and reading through the book and looking at different videos, at the time when you were looking through around what year, there's a reason why I'm going to ask this question. So around what year was it that you were doing a lot of the research on the internet, watching videos and stuff like that? When was that?
About cancer, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was in 2020, because that's when I had my first bout of cancer. So it was 2010.
Oh, 2010. Okay. So that was before Rumble. So I was going to suggest you actually today, nowadays, you actually may find a lot more on platforms like Rumble and BitChute. If you searched for that, and you probably would find full documentaries on that kind of stuff, because I know there's a lot of stuff coming out on those channels about that. I'll bet you could even probably find some stuff on Telegram as well. And for those of you listening to this out there and kind of maybe maybe there's somebody who's listening to the replay of this or whatever, and you are in a spot to where you are questioning things like cancer and stuff like that. Don't go to YouTube. You're not going to find it on YouTube. You're not going to find it on the mainstream stuff. Go to the alternative platforms that have risen up over the last few years. Go to Rumble, go to BitChute. These are places that are not being are not censoring information. But so there's that. And then, so what exactly did you, like, more specifically, what exactly did you do? What changes did you make? What did you consume? What did that whole process look like? I kind of like to hear the further details on that.
Okay. Well, it was like quite a few years ago. So it was funny because actually this morning my daughter sent me a message. She just talked to another lady because unfortunately my daughter has gone through breast cancer as well. On her 40th birthday. So that was a bit of a shock for all of us. She was talking to a lady today who's beaten cancer as well, and she wants to know my successful actions. So I'm actually going to have to sit down and jot it all down. But look, the first thing I noticed when I was first diagnosed, and then of course the news got out, was a lot of people had a lot of suggestions of what I should be doing. And it was becoming extremely overwhelming, extremely. You're going through the trauma of and the stress of being diagnosed, and then you're going to have people basically, and look, their intentions were all good. They all want to help. And so I have my viewpoint on that help is, be there as a support. If let's say you are someone that has a friend that has been diagnosed with cancer. I'll give you an example of this. Just recently, a friend of mine called me, and her uncle had just been diagnosed with cancer, and she wanted to know all my successful actions and what have you. And I said to her, listen, I'm happy to share it with you. I said, but unless your uncle is ready to have that information, your job is not to give him that information. Your job is to support him in whatever it is that he is going to decide to do. That's all. And I said, look, I've given the information out to so many caring family members and things like that, but it never goes anywhere. And the reason why is because the person's going through their own stuff, and it will be on their terms of what they actually need to do. So that's my little advice for people that are being faced with a family member or a friend. Just be there as their support. If they ask, for help in what should I do, you can always say, look, I know someone that can help you, or I know someone that's beaten it, or I can, or the book, that was my saving grace. I mean, I read a lot of other books as well. So that was the first thing. One thing I would always recommend to anyone, and this is what I did, was educate yourself. Know what it's about. What is cancer? Because the more you know, the more you can be in control over it. If you don't know, you're actually flying blind. It's almost like you're throwing, darts at nothing. You know what I mean? You're not hitting the bullseye on it because you don't know.
You're throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping some of it sticks.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's step one. So I educated myself. And then, like I said, there was a lot of information, and I went, all right, well, how am I going to confront all this information, and how am I going to implement what I want to do? So my way of doing it was I took one thing and started with one thing. And I think the first thing I started with was juicing. So I started juicing, and I would have, I think it was from memory, I think it was carrot, apple, and celery juiced, right? And I would, once a week, I'd put them in preserving jars, and they would keep for 5 or 6 days, and we'd go through the whole process again. So that was to create more alkalinity in the body. So that was one. So once I got into the habit of doing that, then I went into the next step. The next step was the B17. And with that, you can't buy apricot kernel seeds at that time. You could not buy them openly. It's all I had to go through the black market in a way.
Wow.
Yeah. So And also, when I did ultimately find them in a health food shop, they said, these aren't for human consumption. I said, yeah, I know. Yep, thank you. It's just for the birds, Anyway, they have to say that. Anyway, that's fine. And so then we worked, the friend of mine that gave me the book, she said, this is what we've been doing. And so I was using up to 40 kernels a day. Now, the whole thing around this book and what they say about the B17 is that it's got arsenic in it and that can kill you because it's got arsenic in it. But in the book, it actually addresses that side of the arsenic myth, right? So anyway, interesting. So then I started doing having my 40 kernels a day ground up, and they're very bitter, so having them in pineapple juice for the acidity, for the enzymes, digestive enzymes out of pineapple organic pineapple juice. We went as completely organic as we could, so that was with vegetables, our meals, everything was organic. Huge amounts of vitamins. I couldn't tell you exactly what I was using, but a huge amount of vitamins on a daily basis, like handfuls. It was like handfuls of vitamins. Lots of rest, of course, like taking care of the body, letting it do its thing. It's some spiritual things as well. Got my own religious beliefs and everything, so getting into the spiritual side of things and really taking care of myself in that way as well. And I'd have to say, from memory, that's pretty much it, But the main thing out of implementing everything was on a gradient of where as you go with everything, because otherwise what will happen is you will become overwhelmed and then you'll do nothing, because if you're trying to implement too many things at once, like we ended up getting a proper water filtration system in the house, so that way then I can drink plenty of water without having to worry about the chemicals that are in water. We even put a shower head that actually filters the water as well, so that I wasn't actually getting water. It was when I decided to let my hair go natural, right? Because I didn't want to put chemicals anywhere. Again, I gave my body enough space and benefit to do what it needed to do, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And of course now, 10 years later, it's a different ball game again, because like B17, you can actually buy it now in capsule form. So I'm doing those, and still lots of vitamins. Of course, now you've got IV treatment. You've got IV I've done. Unfortunately, I can't get into a chamber of a hyperbaric chamber. Is available now, but unfortunately the enclosed space I can't get into. So hyperbaric oxygen.
What's hyperbaric?
It's like a capsule, and excuse me if I'm getting this wrong for anyone that is a bit more it's like you go into a capsule and it's pressurized, and it's like you're going down under sea level, and then it's got oxygen coming in, and so therefore your body can actually take oxygen in at a much more cellular level than what is just from breathing it. And it's meant to be really good. The results are amazing, what's out there. I mean, like I've always had it was funny because when I was going through the cancer the first time around, the Olivia Newton-John Cancer Treatment Centre was being built. And I was so excited that it was actually being built, but it was the section of how much alternatives they were actually offering was so small, and I just went, what's the point? It's still just pushing the same thing that every other hospital is doing. It's still pushing the mainstream. It's not actually giving a platform for the naturopaths. For like if you go to Mexico and also in America, oh my goodness. I was talking to a friend of mine and she said they've got, I was talking to a friend of mine in Florida, and she was saying they've got med beds. And I'm going, oh my God, really? They've got them available in America. We're not allowed to have them here. We are not allowed to have them in Australia, right? And oxygen rooms in Israel. huge rooms, like they're like almost like you're going into a aeroplane of oxygen rooms, right? You can actually just walk in there, which means I could actually do that because it'd be a big room. I just can't get into the enclosed space, and but not allowed to have that here in Australia.
That's very interesting. I also find it very intriguing that you mentioned med beds. It was about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I saw a few things on Telegram. In fact, there's one channel that I actually follow on Telegram that is dedicated to med beds. And the thing about it is, I mean, I know that they're out there, but I haven't heard about them in a long time, in a while since then. And I've actually almost been under the impression of, okay, maybe that was just one of those things in this information war that was thrown out there to give people hope or to mess with people's heads or something like that. But now you're confirming that they actually do exist.
Well, they've existed. It's one of those technologies that's been stopped. Because it actually heals people's bodies. It's actually like Tesla, when he created them, it actually does that, and you sort of go,
and the med beds actually heal you
around that don't want you to get better. You know?
Yeah, and they actually heal you from cancer. From what I've heard that med beds actually heal you. Yeah,
they heal lots of things like arthritis, back problems, you name it. It would probably help millions, billions of people, because there's billions of people out there that are suffering. But no, we can't let that come out.
Interesting. It's mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling, and it's actually quite sickening to think that they're like, as I was reading, like I said, the second part of the book of the industry of cancer, this one, right? I would be reading, and I'd say to I'd say something, and I go, sorry, excuse my language right now, but the assholes, I'd say the assholes. And
yes, please. Feel free to describe them that way. Oh, please.
And then my husband said, what? And then I'd read out the part that I just read. Now, I've lost, at that time, it was my mum. We'd lost a really good friend. My mother-in-law had passed away at 52 with cancer. Awful. And so many people had died and suffered over this. And here is a simple technology, B17, apricot kernel seeds, one of the many, I keep forgetting which way to go, one of the many technologies, right? And it's being suppressed. It's being told you can't have it. Do you know, one of the tests in here, they did a 10-year test in here, right? Over 10 years with, I think it was about 100 subjects, right, on each side. One was with B17, one was without B17, doing the traditional methods, right? Now, listen to this. When they working out through the test, right, they go, the people on the side of doing chemo and radiation, if they don't finish the program and they die, are not counted in the statistics of death. On the other side, if they're doing the B17 process and they die having the during the process of the 10 years, they are counted. So which side showed less deaths than the other? Of course, the chemo and radiation. So the test was skewed on the side of showing that worked better. The guy that actually did all the tests in here, when he tested it left, right, center, every which way, and found that B17 actually worked, he was asked to manipulate the figures, and he wouldn't. He was sacked pretty much a day or two later, right? Because he wouldn't do what they told him to do.
Absolutely.
What more can I say? And that's why when I and look, if I look at it from this way, doctors should know better. Can I say that?
Yeah.
They've got a duty of care to understand all modalities, but they're not prepared to because they're being paid off, maybe, right?
Oh yeah.
Oncologists, they're sincerely concerned about helping the patient. They really are, but they are only told to follow one way and no other way. And although, again, 10 years from one to the other, one of the oncologists that I met, he is looking into one test, which is called DNA circulating tumor cells testing, which I found absolutely fascinating, but it's not available to public as yet because it's still in its research stage. So they are looking for the alternatives, but even anyway, it's just...
Yes, it's crazy. It's a whole minefield. I've just put some resources here in the chat. There's a fantastic documentary out there called One Answer to Cancer. And this was done by the Hippocrates Center, and it talks about, I mean, this is particularly about, certain cancers. It says there's a story about 2 cancer cells. One makes cancer worse and can even kill, yet it is legal. The other has been curing cancer for 2,000 years, yet it is illegal, denounced by big pharma, big government, and big medicine. Why? So these icons of evil can hang on to their obscene profits. And really, that's in it in a nutshell. And I do recommend people check that out, One Answer to Cancer, and also Cancer, the Forbidden Cures. That was a real eye-opener for me when I saw it. And that one's actually on YouTube, believe it or not. That one, I think what happens with that documentary, it gets taken down, put back up, taken down, put back up. Oh, yeah. And so at the moment, I've just spotted it on someone's YouTube. So there it is. It's up there at the moment. And I have also featured that one into the Conscious Community Global Facebook group. I do recommend check that group out for some mind-blowing documentaries as well. I'll put that link in there in just a moment.
So you just one other point here. So interesting enough, like little like treasure chests like that on YouTube that you find, what I've learned to do is if they're a big giant treasure chest and they're just like a video, just like boom, here's a big bomb for you. What I will do is there's different apps that you can go to online, and they have like a YouTube downloader. And so I can actually then take that video, download it off of YouTube, and save it permanently on my computer. And then I can reshare that out through Rumble or BitChute or other places to further it. So this, when the very beginning of the information war started around 2020, the very beginning of the big part of it, where censorship really started to rev itself up. This is what everybody was doing. This is how everybody got the information out. They were pulling these videos off, saving the hard copy on their hard drive, and then reissuing them over and over and over again in other spots so that it actually never goes away. And I find that that's absolutely brilliant to do. So
say something about that. It's funny because when you say that about having to take something and pretty much put it somewhere else and hide it, it reminds me when I was a little girl, I was watching a movie and they were burning all the books, and I don't even know what the name of the movie was, but they were burning books, and each person had to memorize a book, because they became known as the book. That was the way they preserved the book for the future generations. They became the book to be able to relay it back to people. It was just I remember looking at it, and I was only really small, but it really impacted on me that could that ever really happen? And here we are, even though we've got information technology the way it is, in a way, that's really what you've just described, that we have to preserve the true information that is out there, and and put it somewhere else so that it does not get destroyed or deleted forever. So,
definitely. And with everything running so rampant today on so many people just determined to get the right information out there, I don't see the right information going away. There's too many of us now. There's too many platforms now that are free, and meaning free speech, not being censored. And so it's only getting worse for, I'll say the deep state. It's only getting worse. It's only getting worse for them. More and more and more, they are losing control. I mean, I'm seeing it and I'm hearing it more and more. how, I mean, look at the ratings of the news stations. I mean, they're dropping like crazy. Nobody's believing them anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's crazy. And then the other thing is what's interesting to me is I have never heard of this vitamin B12 before, ever. I didn't even know it existed.
B17.
I'm sorry, B17. I was thinking B12. B17. I didn't even know there was a vitamin out there called B17. Like that's absolutely interesting to me.
Well, see, the history of it, it's actually like they were trying to, like throughout the book, you'll see, and it's talking about it actually says in the book that like the Himalayan, the Hunsakuts in the Himalayas would eat their apricot kernels, right? They wouldn't get rid of them. You know how we eat our apricot, we eat the flesh, but we don't eat the apricot kernels. Well, they actually eat the apricot kernel, and their longevity was timeless until McDonald's or fast foods came into their country, right? And it actually describes in here, in the history of it, it actually describes in it the sort of results in terms of prevalence of cancer and heart disease and everything else like that is actually mentioned in here, that this was a culture that was actually living the way we should live, but also eating something that was depleted in our diet, right? And it goes into the book. So it's like, then they turn around and say it could kill you. Well, these people were having them for thousands of years and they're still alive. What are you talking about? It'll kill you.
What's funny too, and this is I was trying to get back to this because I wanted to make a comment to this. So when you were making the comparison of the studies and everything else, and then basically saying that this one over here that showed that their system works better, and then you were proposing the idea that might have been, that was probably a skewed study or paid to be this way. I wanted to say I 100% agree with that. In the fact that they've been doing this kind of thing as far as paying for certain studies to lean a certain way. They've been doing this for years. And I'm just going to give you a little snippet of an example. This is actually coming from an outline that I did on the low fat and fat free scam. And this is actually a portion of a quote that I'm going to be sharing. Big Food has been wise about steering the conversation about nutrition in this country. In fact, one vice president of an edible oil company, so seed oils, the deadly seed oils and everything, this vice president was quoted saying this: if you pay $25,000 for a university study, you can ensure that it will say what you want. While you can't totally rig a study, you can sway it so that you don't look so bad, or so that your product looks more favorable than it should. And that's not all. They did it with sugar. They paid studies to come out pointing the finger at saturated fats rather than pointing the finger at what was really causing coronary heart disease and obesity. They paid Harvard studies $50,000. So here's another one. Documents show, this is another quote from an article. Documents show that a trade group called Sugar Research Foundation, known today as Sugar Association, paid 3 Harvard studies, the equivalent of about $50,000, to publish a 1967 review research on sugar, fat, and heart disease. The studies used in the review were handpicked by the sugar group, and the article, which was published in the England Journal, minimized the link between sugar and heart health and cast aspirations on the role of saturated fats. They've been doing this to us for years. They've been paying for studies to come out and paying for them to say and have a certain angle to make us believe a certain way.
Yeah. Well, on that, if they tell you not to, do it. If they say don't eat that, you know what to do? eat it because it's
Exactly.
probably the right thing for you to eat.
Exactly. And if they say don't watch this because it goes against community standards, you definitely want to watch that, right? So you definitely want to go to the link and see the link on that one, right?
Exactly. And that's me now, you know. I know Ken, you were saying, you know, thank goodness, you know, he's got like we were talking about my son, and he said, thank God you've got a mother that's awake. And I said, I'm the one that woke them up.
Yeah.
I'm the trailblazer in the family. My poor mum and dad, I tell you, I don't think they knew what happened to them when I was born. But anyway, you know, I'd say to them, mum and dad, I need to talk to you about something. You can almost see them go, what now? What next? You know, because I was always doing things out of the ordinary with them, and they just couldn't get it. And then, anyway, poor things. I think I did make it a bit hard on them, but anyway, it's funny.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. And that's the thing. Once you take the red pill, as they say in the Matrix, there's no going back to the blue pill again. And, you know, I remember very specifically when a friend of mine said in 2015, he said, you know, 9/11 was an inside job, don't you? I said, what do you mean? And he said, watch this video, watch this video, watch this video. I started to watch all these David Icke videos. Then I started to research online. I saw all this footage that was never shown in the mainstream media. I saw so much evidence against what we were seeing in the mainstream media that there was no turning back to actually seeing things ever the same again. And I knew from the minute that I saw COVID on the news, the minute I saw the fear mongering and this, you know, all of that going, I went, oh, here we go. You know, I just knew in my gut that there was something not right. I didn't quite know what it was. And I'm not saying COVID doesn't exist. I do believe it does exist. However, I think, you know, what's happened to colds suddenly? What's happened to people suddenly haven't died of anything else other than COVID the last few years? You know, I mean, it's just, you know, we've seen so much evidence to the contrary now of what we've been told in mainstream media. And having worked as a journalist for many years, I can tell you definitely there's been a lot of media programming through these channels, through these media channels. And thank goodness for alternative media channels such as BitChute and Rumble and all the other ones out there. Thank goodness we have more and more people speaking their truth and actually questioning the status quo. More and more people are questioning it. And those that haven't been questioning it, you know, a lot of them now are regretting their decisions over certain things. And, you know, thankfully it's not too late for some of them. Some of them there's still certain things you can do to clear the system if you have had the big V. You know, my dad got shingles from it. That was one of the biggest side effects that came about from the big V that was being pushed on everybody. You know, a lot of people were willing to give up their freedoms to not have it because we didn't want that poison. I see it as poison in the system. You know, I had a tetanus shot years ago, and I've had sciatica ever since on that side of my body, ever since I had this tetanus shot 25 years ago. And so I'm very sensitive to needles. And look, some people had no side effects, and then there were others that died very quickly. And, you know, really, if you want to take that risk, you go for your life. But we do recommend that you do question everything. And here we go. GGG Aldwyn, I don't know which Facebook user this is. Please allow StreamYard to see your comments or let us know who you are. Outliers in the house. Yes, absolutely. Outliers, the divergence. We are speaking our truth, no matter what people think, right? Doesn't matter what you think of our opinion right now. You please do your own research because we do care about you. We actually do care about you. And this is why we have this show, Total Truth Show, for people sharing their truth. Yes, Helen, over to you.
Just going back like Matrix for me, I remember watching that and going, wow, you know, like in terms of it was so real. You know, I remember talking about it to people, and it was funny, even at that point in time when it came out, I would be talking to people. Some people go, oh, no, it's really weird. They're the ones that not even have got any idea. And then there's others that I know some people that went and saw it like 5 times because it was like so real to them, you know, like this is almost like what we are living in, you know, what we're being shown is not the real world, you know. And I know some people might go, oh my God, you know, Helen, you know, get real. But to me, that's how I look at life. I look at life in terms of everything isn't as it seems.
Correct.
Yes.
So question, don't accept, just be prepared to look outside and just be prepared to ask the questions and be prepared to live your way, to live your truth, to live your what's right for you. And that's what I've done all my life. And yes, I have created a few problems with my family and everything else like that. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm really happy, and I'm happy I didn't get V'd at the time when I did. I know it was really hard, you know, not being then allowed to come in and see my mum. And I've got a photo of my mum sitting outside with me, and she's got dementia, and she's sitting there going, why can't we sit inside? It's too cold out here. And you know, but I just went, you know what? I just would take blankets with me and rug her up. And I'd only stay with her maybe for 10 or 15 minutes to have a cup of tea and then let her go inside. But at least I did that, and I'm happy that I did, and I'm so grateful that my whole family was able to survive that period of time, and not be put in a position where they felt like they had to. You know, it was touch and go with my son and my husband. And even my son-in-law, they were all going, if I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to. And, you know, we would have had to back them up and support them. But I was so hoping that things would start changing, and it did. But there was a lot of situations that created massive problems for relationships. Yeah. So
well, of course, because what they did, I mean, and I still kind of see them doing it today, is they bring everybody to the very brink and edge of you know, getting of forcing the vaccination or the V, whatever. They bring everybody to the brink of the edge, and then when, you know, right at that edge, then it was ruled unconstitutional. And then it was ruled and it was pressed down. And then they would go to the next stage. So here's the next place. We're going to be forcing this. They would take it as far as they can take it before it got ruled unconstitutional. That's the way they're working around that stuff. But I find it funny that eventually, if you hold out long enough, it ends up getting ruled unconstitutional and they have to back off.
Which is what's actually happened here in Melbourne. But unfortunately, the damage is done. You know, unfortunately, the damage is done. And like, you know, it's almost like even, you know, like looking back at, you know, having to give out your medical status, right? Well, because I didn't attend a family function of some sort, everyone knows now why. And so everyone knows my medical status, which to me is an invasion of privacy right there. You know, exactly. How dare they put me in that position and put my family in that position to basically out in the open, there you are, you know?
Yep.
You know, fully naked as such, you know what I mean? And I think that's exposed. That's right. It's like that's the part that is the damage is now done, because it's like, well, you didn't attend that function, and at that time we had lockdowns and only people that were vaccinated could attend. So we know now where you stand, you know, and everything else like that. You know, that's not right.
No,
you know, you lost your job. You know, you lost your job. Well, we know where you are. You know what I mean? And that's the part that I think is, and my son keeps saying that. He says the damage is done, and that's going to take a long time to fix that damage, if it can ever be fixed at all. You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. There should really be mass compensation claims happening. I mean, the number of people being dropping dead. I mean, how do you ever even put a price on someone's life? I've lost so many friends in their 50s have just died suddenly of heart conditions, perfectly healthy people, and then they had the V and they're dead very soon afterwards, you know, some of them. And we know Shane Warne dropped dead. He was pushing the V. How healthy was he? You know, suddenly he went down, and so many others. And, you know, so it really has you sort of question, you know, why this happens and how this happens. And since when has it been the government's job to worry about our health anyway, unless there's been massive money involved, right? And that's the thing. That's when the governments care, when they get their mullah, right? And, you know, so much corruption. I know there's corruption all over the world, but now more and more people are waking up, and there's a lot more of us than there are government authorities. And there's actually a great video on YouTube called The Tiny Dot, and it shows how, you know, the number of people in government is like a tiny dot, and then you've got masses of people, that all the public who go, oh, do we really have to do as we're told? Do we really have to pay half our money in taxes? Do we really have to do, oh, yes, if you don't, because the enforcers will come in. If you don't, we're going to, you know, do this, blah, blah, blah. And people live in fear. And the more we come out of this fear, the quicker we will be able to empower ourselves and to be able to make informed choices for ourselves and to unite as community, to unite and actually speak up and stand up as we are right here today, regardless of what you think. There's going to be people watching this that are really not going to agree with any of this stuff and going to go, oh, you're conspiracy theorists, right? We go, well, look up where the term conspiracy theorists come from. And it was actually the CIA, the 1950s, created the term conspiracy theorist to mock anyone who spoke against the government. It's just like the old communist days, right? You speak up, you step up, we're going to kill you, we're going to come for you, right? And that is enough is enough. Enough people have died.
Yeah, and they can't shoot people here in the Western world, so they came up with the term conspiracy theorist. All right, well, wait and see what the conspiracy, whether it is a conspiracy or not, because sooner or later the truth will come out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the truth always comes out in the end, and the biggest conspiracy is what we've been seeing in the mainstream media. We know when anything's blasted across the mainstream media, it's the time to question things, right? You go, oh, what's the hidden agenda here? Who stands to make money from this? Like the Thrive documentaries. Watch the Thrive documentaries. It says if you really want to know what's going on in the world, follow the money trail. Right? Yeah. Follow the money trail.
I know. It's always there. It's always follow the money. Always there. Yeah,
always follow the money. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so this is an awesome conversation. Absolutely loving this. And so for those who do have cancer out there, what would you recommend to them, Helen?
Don't be scared. I know that's hard, but I think that the main thing is, look, don't be scared, and take your time to research and ask questions and listen to yourself, listen to you. If what they're saying makes sense and you can understand it, then go down that road. But if it doesn't make sense to you, or like for me, once I got married, I went on a journey of like being very health conscious and things like that. So for me, I'd been married for 20 whatever years, so nearly 30 years, I think, at that time. And to go down the road of chemical things into my body was just like, just doesn't feel right. So that's why I started questioning, So do that. Surround yourself, I suppose, with your team. And what I mean by that is, yes, you've got your doctor and you've got your oncologist and you've got your radiation therapist, whatever they call themselves. You've got, whether it's a naturopath, your spiritual counselor, surround yourself with your team that's going to be there to support you, obviously your family, and then really follow your heart and follow your guide. You follow you, in terms of what you actually really want to. And so one more thing, sorry. So follow that, but also if you believe that there is an alternative out there, keep looking, because there is, and you've just got to find what it is for you. That's really what it is. For me, I just kept looking, and I just knew that there had to be something else, and I just kept going, and then I tried different modalities and all that sort of thing until I felt right. I've got a really good protocol, and I kept that going for many, many years. And it was probably at about the 3 or 4 year mark that I started to ease off a little bit and everything else like that. And everything was going fine until 2020. But I really believe that 2020, with, like I said, with what happened worldwide, I think it did create an environment for disease easily, because we were all under so much stress. Yes, we had 6 lockdowns, but I know that, Queensland, all over the world, I don't have to sort of single out anything, but we all went through hardships and everything. And a lot of our freedoms were taken away from us, and a lot of our freedoms were never given back to us, so, Yes. So that would be my advice to anyone. And if it's a person that's looking at supporting someone, be a support person. Don't be the person that is the one that says, you should read this book, or you should do this, or anything else like that. That's not what a cancer person needs to hear. You need to, like, I remember a friend of mine, she asked me, and she said, what would you do? And I said, I can't give you that answer. I said, all I can tell you is what I've just said. right? And I said, you need to do your own research. And I said, not even your husband can actually make this decision for you. It has to become from you, because it's your body. It's your choice. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And what's been the positive side of cancer for you?
Wow. So in when we had the 2010, when I had my first cancer, we had a window cleaning business, which we ended up selling. And then I took on a role as a educator in investing in property, which I love because I love educating. I love to guide people along the right path in terms of that. So I've had many attempts at trying to build my career, right? And I know when I met you, Aldwyn, I was looking at being a life coach. And anyway, so I was working on that and trying to build that up. And then, of course, when I got my second bout of cancer, which was in 2010, I really started questioning the direction I was actually heading in. And what I mean by that is that with the life coaching, I do love life coaching, but I do that anyway. Like, people come to me and ask for advice, and people, approach me for help and everything, and I just do it. And I found myself doing a lot of things, even trying to build my business, and I'd be doing it for nothing. And I went, you know what, this is me, and I would do it anyway, because I don't want to deny people help if they need it. So anyway, that was at the end of 2020. And so I put everything on hold because I thought I just got to work out what I want to do. And then I went and did some a bit of a spiritual retreat then for a few months later in the year, 2020 and 2021. And it got me looking at, and I go, all right, here I am building a life coaching business. And if something was to happen to me, which I'd had cancer, right? If something was to happen to me, what is my husband going to do with this business? And I went, nothing. It'll just fold. So I just went, well, so what's the point? Then my thought pattern went, well, what's the point of actually building a business that's only dependent on me and not be able to have something there that either we can do together or we can do independently of each other? So that's when I decided to not continue down that road. And so this is where the positive part of it comes out of it, because it actually got me thinking along the lines of, this body's going to die on me at some point, right? Not yet, because I've got so much I want to get done, right?
Yes.
And so then I started thinking, all right, well, if it's not going to be that, what is it? And so started looking at different things and everything. And then I had this little brainwave of an idea, because I created this CRM for myself back in 2016. And I was using it, and I actually introduced it into a business. And I'd helped a lot of other businesses as well with different ideas and things like that to improve their businesses. So anyway, I started thinking, well, is this a product that could be marketable? And that's when I then went into the research of how much it would cost to actually develop it as an app. And then I did the surveys on business owners and people that I knew. And I asked the question of, do you know what a CRM was? And some said yes, some said no. And what were the people that said yes, how did you find them? And the words that were coming out of their mouths was what I felt. And I said, overwhelming, complicated, too hard, need an IT degree, too costly, I couldn't afford it. Lots of words like that. Or they were using something and they'd say, yeah, well, I'm using one, but I can only use a small bit of it because I just don't understand all the rest of it. So there was that sort of common thread in what they were saying. And I went, okay, well, that's interesting. I said, that's pretty much like me. And so then further on through my survey, I got to the point of describing my little app. And I said, if you had a system that could do what what I described with my app, and would that be something that would be of benefit or interest to you? And 85% of the people I surveyed said, let me know when you've got it up and running, and I'd be very interested in having a look at it. So that gave us the confidence to pursue it. And see, that's something that is tangible enough that if something was to happen to me, at least Brian could take it on. Obviously, it's my little brainchild, so he'd have to sort of start learning a little bit fast about what it's about. But it's something he could learn, and he uses it. So it's something that he would learn very quickly, and vice versa. If something happens to him, I could use it, but we can actually work it together. So it was a beautiful thing to come up. So we went into the development in August of 21 and launched, did a beta test launch in July of 22, soft launch in August, and then fully launched in early this year. So it's been very exciting. Yeah. So that's how it came back. So that's really the positive aspect of it, because, and just to let you know, the cancer side of things for me, I treat it like a common cold. I know that sounds weird, but that's how I think of it. That's my mind on it. I go, it's just like a common cold. If my immune system's not strong, I will get a cold. If my immune system's strong, I don't get a cold. So if I get my immune system strong enough, I don't get cancer. And if my immune system's too weak, I'll get cancer. And so I just know that I've got to keep those immune cells and my killer cells and everything else that my naturopath keeps wanting to build up. She works on those to make sure that we prop them up with whatever vitamins, whatever we need to make sure that they're going to be strong enough to keep the immune system working as strongly as possible. And but so, yeah, I think I've answered that question. Sorry, I tend to go off.
It's cool because, so, you know, the way I'm seeing is like, here's cancer over here. Here's what you're destined to do over here. Cancer enters your life and connects you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think when you have something like that happens, I think it makes you even more grateful for what you do have. And in some ways it inspires you to fast track what you really want to do with your life, you know, and I think it's a beautiful thing, you know, all the ups and downs of life, all the challenges we have just make us stronger, right? If we can move through them. And it's all about how we're going to be. You know, some people really fell off the rails during COVID. We had 4 times the suicide rate. So we know a lot of people did not cope during that time. And then there's others that have hung on there. They've hung on that roller coaster ride of life through all the ups and downs, and we've come out the other side. And now we've got a new awakened civilization starting to happen, and more people are standing up and uniting, and it's a beautiful thing. And thank you for all those joining us right now. Hello, Brant Markle from LinkedIn there. Good to see you there. And for those joining us, let us know, where are you joining us from today? And do you have any great resources for us around what we're talking about today? Anything around staying positive, whether you've had cancer or not, or any great cancer resources, particularly any natural health kind of things that you've got there? I had heard of apricot kernels before, admittedly. I didn't know it was called B17. So that's something I've learned here today.
Also got another name, and it's called Laetrile, Laetrile, Laetrile. That's the actual name of it. So
okay, interesting. So I do have a question around that. So B17 from apricot kernels. So the pit of an apricot. What do you do? Do you grate that into like a powder? What do you do?
So what I was doing now, I mean, I get the little capsules. You can buy them, little capsules that are proven to be correct, right? But before they were available, I would buy the apricot kernel seed. It's the apricot kernel seed. So you've got the kernel, you know, the pit, and then if you open that nut up, there's a seed inside the apricot. Oh. And that's the part. It's like there's another guy, I forget his name. It's similar to the seeds of apples. Apparently they're similar as well, right? And they've got the B17. Now, apparently, again, it's mentioned that in our diet, we do not have a particular part of this in our diets, and that's why Western society has this prevalence of cancer and everything, whereas cultures that actually eat the seeds of the apple or the seeds of the kernel don't. So you actually grind it up. I got myself a little coffee grinder, put my 40 seeds in there, grind it up fine, and then I'd do like my 10 little teaspoons or whatever into some apricot, and then it'd be like a shot. In it goes. And I'd be doing that 3 or 4 times a day to get through my 40 kernels. And there's another book, I forget. Look, there were so many books that I read. There's another book that was saying as a maintenance to keep on 10 kernels a day. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Very intriguing. Very, very intriguing.
Yes.
I never would have known.
And it's interesting with black salve that's meant to be good to help people treat skin cancers. That also is only available for animals, right? So how interesting, right? So,
yeah, the mectin part of it, where, like if you get the horse paste, which is what they were sort of pushing as it being so bad, but apparently it kills parasites in your body, which a lot of the problems that we have in our bodies is because of the parasites, that are growing. And by actually having it, I know a friend of mine that is actually doing that at the moment. He's actually using the horse paste. So there you go. He buys it straight from the horse people.
Absolutely amazing. That's just, it's also kind of like through my deep dive research, and this was around the time I was kind of finding my trail into the health and wellness industry and exposing the lies that's in that industry. And one of the things I actually ran into was dandelions. Those little yellow flowers that grow up in grass. Well, now I haven't had a chance to like really produce an outline around it or anything, but I have read in a few places, and I mainly found this on Telegram, just how healthy dandelions actually are for you. You can pick them up out of the grass and actually eat them. They're actually extremely nutritious for you. And what are we taught to do with dandelions? We are taught to spray what? Weed killer on them because they're a weed. But they are actually a healthy thing.
Amazing.
It is amazing. And it's all part, to me, I look at it, even like our soil, like the state of our soil for growing food and everything has been depleted on, this is my viewpoint, right, on purpose.
Yes.
And the reason why is because if you're eating food that's not nutritious, your body is not going to function as well as it should. And so therefore disease will become much bigger, and you are going to have a better industry if you're in the industry of creating disease. And so therefore you're going to make a lot of money, which they do, right? And that, again, it's just, again, my viewpoint, and anyone who's watching can say I'm crazy, and that's okay. Okay, but that's my viewpoint. And you think about it. I know myself, when I used to be a small girl and I'd dig up the ground, what did you used to see? Worms, grubs, everything. Go out now and dig up the soil and see what you see. Nothing. The ecosystem of our soil has been damaged, and there's a reason why it's been damaged, and it's been damaged, unfortunately, on purpose.
And then what do they say? What do they do? They then blame it on, it's the what's that? It's the carbon footprint, or it's the climate, or our cows are actually causing so much damage to the ecosystem, and da 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 da. So, we should go on a plant-based. We should go on a plant-based diet, and we shouldn't eat meat anymore, and blah blah blah, and all this other stuff. And oh my gosh, like I'm like, I'm actually developing an outline right now that's going to go off on that whole thing, their whole plant-based agenda. Number one, the whole thing that they're trying to sell, that cows are actually damaging to the environment and eating meat is actually damaging. No, it's not. The cows actually add to the environment. What they are doing to the wheat fields, the grain fields, all their processing stuff, and all their little vaccines for cows, and all their little things that they do, and what they feed the cows, and how the cows are treated, that in itself is what is damaging our ecosystem and what is damaging our environment. It has nothing to do with the animals.
No, I know.
Yes. How
And if
interesting.
anyone, I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that do believe that sort of thing as well. So unfortunately, we've got a big job ahead of us.
Yes, we
So,
do.
I mean,
One thing at a time.
I know that's a real like hot topic out there. So,
Mm.
you know, if I kind of set somebody off there, so be it. But I'm going to challenge you. Don't take my word for what I've just shared there. I've done my research. Now it's your turn. You go check it out. And don't cop out and just do a Google search. Go really deep dive into some of the alternative platforms that are out there and start asking the questions. That's
Yes.
what I challenge you.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
I've just put a link here to key2group.com, KEY, number 2, and then group, GROUP.com. This is an amazing new product that's come out of Australia. In fact, out of Melbourne. There's a factory in Melbourne, and it's like a natural fertilizer that actually contains every organic nutrient, vitamin, and mineral required to give and sustain the life and fertility of the soil. So this actually, people put it on the soil, it actually gets rid of toxic chemicals, and it actually puts a whole lot of goodies into the soil. And these are actually some of my clients actually in Melbourne. Amazing product. I've actually been down to the factory down there.
And we've interviewed them, haven't we?
Yes, we did. We interviewed Mark and Stefan from Mark Pilgrim and Stefan Pilgrim from Key 2 Group. They were amazing. And since you're in Melbourne, I would recommend go and check out the factory. They deal with a lot of farmers. They actually get this product out to a lot of farmers because a lot of the artificial fertilizers are full of a lot of rubbish. But this product, you can put it in and it will actually it'll deplete any problems that you have with any toxic chemicals, etc. It'll actually bring all the natural goodness back to the soil, which will be amazing for farmers and for anyone who's got any gardens at all that they want to plant anything. You need to check out this product. So check it out, key2group.com. And the people behind it are amazing. So, yes, check out one of our previous shows. You'll see a whole interview. We did a show called The Truth About Nutrition, and that was in that show there. So, yes, definitely check it out on that point.
Okay. Well, I'll look them up.
Yeah, Mark Pilgrim, I can connect you with Mark as well since you're down that way and have a chat with him. I think you'd be very, very interested. So, and, you know, if we have good soil, if we have all the good nutrients back in the soil, what's that going to do for our food supply? And, of course, you know, this is very important now that people become more self-sustainable in this way because we never know what's going to happen to the food supply. We had the Hunger Games years ago and potentially there could be Hunger Games coming back again. So I'm actually looking to turn my whole backyard into a big organic garden right now. I'm looking, that's the next project I've got at my place is actually to do that. And I'm going to be testing out some of the Key 2 Group products in the yard, and they'll actually send you some free product to try it out. So that's how confident they are about it, and they've done many tests. They've been working on this for over 2 years, this product, and it's said to be amazing. So and it's like black soil. When you go to the factory, you see it's just beautiful. Beautiful. I'm sure the plants will just lap it up.
They will. They'll go, oh my God, you're giving me something I can grow in.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna love it. All the worms will come back. Everything will come back, and nature will do its thing. So
yeah.
So,
yes. Look, you know, when you sort of look at nature and you look at your body, right? If you sort of put the two together, if you're giving it the right things that it needs both ways, right? It does what it's supposed to do. You know, really, like I look at I sort of treat my body like a car, right? If you don't take care of your car, you don't get it serviced, you don't take care of it, it's going to break down on you. It's going to get rusty. And you're going to have to turn it at the end of the day, right? But if you take care of it, it's going to last you a very long time. And if you're going to do the grease and oil change and what have you with it, it will do what it's supposed to do. But the unfortunate thing is we think we're getting all the right things through the food we're eating and everything, and we're not. You know, if you're not getting the minerals, you're not really getting anything. You know, if you're not, that's a whole nother story anyway. So we won't get into that, otherwise we'll be here another hour and a half almost.
Right. You know what's funny is earlier you mentioned juicing too, and it's so interesting. I kind of rolled my eyes in the back of my head because I know my mom's listening to this, and we went through a small period of time to where we did, you know, juicing and then we would make enough to last for the week. And then things got busy, and it's been a while since we've done it. And she's been kind of hinting at me, I miss it. I want to go back to it. So I know that at the end of this episode, I'm going to walk out there and she's going to be like, we need to start doing again.
I love it. And there's something that Don Tolman swears by, and it's a Kabbalah juice. And Kabbalah juice, he says the CABALA actually stands for something. So the C stands for carrot, A stands for apple, B is beetroot, A is for a different color apple, L is for lemon, and A is a different color apple again. So the 3 different colored apples. So you might go yellow, green, red apple, carrot, beetroot, and lemon. Kabbalah juice is meant to be a fantastic cleanser. It's meant to be amazing. And you might want to try that one out as a juice mix. Check out the old Kabbalah juice.
Interesting.
CABALA. So C for carrot, A for apple, B for beetroot, A for a different color apple, L for lemon, and A for a different color apple. So 3 different colored apples in there, and carrot, beetroot, and lemon. I reckon that would be a powerful drink. That one that would really, cleanse a lot of crap out of the body. So give it a go and see, or look it up, Kabbalah juice. Look up to Kabbalah juice and see if I can find something here. Kabbalah detox juice recipe. Yes, it's a detox, they say here. Use red, green, and yellow apples. Kabbalah. This is the juice chef. I've just found something pop up here on Kabbalah juice. Here we go. It's got instructions on what to do. I'll just put this one in here. I'll put this link over into the chat. And that's from juicechef.com.au, all about Kabbalah detox juice recipe. There it is. It says 12 carrots, 1 green apple, 1 golden delicious apple, 1 red apple, half a beetroot, and half a lemon. And it tells you exactly what to do there. So, yes, that does look very yummy. It's making me quite hungry now at this time of the day, here lunchtime here on the Gold Coast. So
watering. I feel like I want to go and get a juice.
Yes, I want to get a juice. Time for juice, I must say. Time for juice. So, look, it's been so great having you on the show, Helen. For people that want to connect with you, where can they go?
Well, they can connect on LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn, and I'm also on Facebook. And obviously through my website, keepconnected.com.au, there is a contact page, whether it's about Keep Connected or whether it's just you want to connect, that's fine as well. So there's many ways of connecting. Yeah.
How interesting that you've got a Keep Connected website, keepconnected.com.au. Here, I'll put that one in the link as well. Fantastic. Yeah. Because I just got interviewed had a chat with someone from Meetup International in America. They want to interview me for their podcast, which is called Keep Connected. How interesting. That just happened today. So they'll be interviewing me in about a month. I'll be talking to the CEO of Meetup International about how to stay connected and about good news and inspiring more good news in the world and helping to decrease depression and suicide rates. So that's an amazing opportunity that's just landed in my lap. And here we are, and it's called Keep Connected. So how beautiful is that? That's amazing. Synchronicities all over the place. And now, where can people connect with you?
You've got my link tree there, so go ahead and share that. And all the important links on my link tree are right at the top of the list, so you can connect with me. You can come into my Facebook group, which is an amazing place to come. There's a lot of good information being shared in there. To schedule an appointment with me, right at the top of the list, my calendar link is there, and she's got the calendar link right on the screen right there. So, but you can find all the places to connect with me on my link tree, and all the important links are like right up there at the top.
And can you read that out, please, for those on the audio, Ken?
For my link tree, where is it? Where'd it go?
Your link tree is right. Well, there's the Calendly link. The Calendly is right there.
My calendar link, yes, is Calendly, CALENDLY.com/mastery coach Ken.
I actually don't have your link tree here. What is your link tree? I don't have it here in front of me.
Oh, really?
No, we don't have it there. I'll just put my link tree up for the moment while you get your link tree. Okay, so my link tree, for those who want to connect with me, is linktr.ee/Aldwyn. That's ALDWYN. wynnlinktr.ee/Aldwyn has all my links. And we do have the Global Good News Challenge happening right now. You can still get it in for March. You can start at any time in March. Just share your name, what you do, 3 things you're grateful for, and a piece of good news on a live video on social media. Hashtag Global Good News Challenge, and we'll share that out to thousands of people for you. It's free marketing. You'll feel amazing when you do it, and so will the people who see that. So just check out Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. Thank you so much. Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. Pinned to the top is all the details. We have a 3-day challenge for March, 4 days coming up in April for the 4th month. And so check it out. I do encourage you to do that. And you've done some good news challenges, Ken, which have been awesome in the past. Well done on that. And here is your link tree. So would you like to read that out for us?
So www.linktree, and linktree is linktr.ee/FatFighterKen.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And of course, we have the Total Truth Show Facebook page. Please like us there, facebook.com/Total Truth Show, as you speak it, so you spell it. So we'd love you to connect there as well. And now, any final words before we go to our favorite quote or motto to wrap up? Any final words from you, Helen?
Well, I'd love talking to everyone. I must admit, I was a little bit nervous about being so open about cancer and my journey and everything. But if I suppose I look at it and I think if I can help someone, stand up and make their own decision, then I feel like it's been worth sharing, because, or not even just stand up and doing their own thing, but even just having the clarity of the direction that they actually want to take, because it's a difficult time to go through. So so thank you very much for allowing me to share my story, and it's been great. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Well, it does take courage, and good on you, right? We applaud you. We love you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us so openly. And you do look like a vision of health. So you look amazing. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Keep those vitamins, keep the good stuff up. That's fantastic. Well done. And Ken, any final words before we go to our quote?
No, I just want to encourage all you guys, watching, don't let what we encourage you to do just kind of fly over your head, and just sit there and go, yeah, I know, I really should, do this and do that, or just subconsciously put it in the back of your mind. You guys, time is now. There really is a great awakening going on right now. There really is a big, giant information war going on right now. If maybe you can at least sense it and feel it that way, then you've taken the first step in the path. The next step is for you to actually start diving deep and getting some research in on some alternative platforms and seeing what other people are saying about what's going on in the world out there, and then start comparing it with what you're hearing, and really, really sit there and ask yourself, if you're open enough to do this, really sit there and I'm not trying to get woo-woo, but really sit there and ask your gut, ask yourself, which side do I believe more? And really do that inner searching as well. I mean, if you're still at that place of like going, I don't know what to believe anymore. Like this side says this and this side says this, and what the hell is true? I remember when I went through that period, I would often, after I took my red pill, I would often be on a Zoom call with my friend who actually helped me to see the light, if you will. And I would often sit back in my chair and I would go, what the hell is going on? Like, I don't even know what to think of all of this. At least I wasn't like Neo in the Matrix. At least I didn't puke all over the place because he couldn't handle it. He literally exploded, he puked everywhere because he couldn't handle it. And, but I had those moments where I sat back in my chair and I was just like, what the hell is even going on? And what the hell is even real anymore? Kind of, I had those moments, and every once in a while I still do, but be brave enough to take that journey and to do the research and ask the questions and look up the data for yourself. part of this, of what we're going through right now, is our fault. How is it our fault? Because we got complacent. We stopped asking the questions. We stopped looking at the data for ourselves. We stopped doing our own research. And we just started accepting what we were told. We just started accepting it from the TV stars, from the news stations. Well, this person has been around for a while, so they must know what's going on. And we just blindly started doing that. That's our fault. Now it's time to get back to where we should be, and that's asking the questions.
Yes. And you know, don't feel guilty about any of this, right? We're definitely not wanting that to happen. We want you actually just to say, okay, life is as it is right now. Everything that I've done up till now has brought me to this point. And what can I do now moving forward to empower myself, my family, my community, right? And that is by trusting your gut. Your gut knows, and doing the research on the alternative media channels that you're not going to see in the mainstream media. Yeah. You know, and we say all of this with love. I do have my little love heart sending you all love.
Yes.
And that's beautifully said there, Ken. And I would just love now to wrap up. We like to wrap up with a quote or a motto we live by. So Helen, over to you. What's a favorite quote or a motto you live by?
I suppose my motto is not to just follow the status quo and question, and be true. I suppose really the bottom line would be to be true to yourself. What's right for you is what's right for you.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you, Helen. And Ken, over to you. What's a favorite quote or motto?
Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. That is by Donald J. Trump.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I am going to share one from Gandhi today. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you so much for joining us here on Total Truth Show. Let us know what you got out of the show in the comments. If you've enjoyed this, share the love. If you know anyone with cancer, particularly share this video. They need to see this video. Check out the resources we have put into the chat as well. Sending you all lots of love. Until next time, here's a goodbye from the Total Truth Show. Bye for now.
Bye.